Greetings and welcome to our channel, the Ministry of the Real Truth, where we, through our personal research, study and experiences, strive to bring you the real truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so we have no time or need to try to pull the wool over your eyes, deceive you in any way with hype, fluff or other total nonsense. We have a policy, honesty is our best policy, and we try to abide by that, and we believe in the old chivalry where a man's word was his word and it should be taken seriously. Today this is a video extension of the previous two videos we created reviewing the book of Enoch. During reading it again, we found that there was a verse that we could look at, 2 Kings 2:11 to 12, which might verify the claim that Enoch never actually died because he was taken up in the sky by God on a fiery chariot, or as conspiracy theorists and ufologists like to claim, it was a spaceship and he went into outer space and saw the seventh heavens and all this sort of stuff. So we're trying to clear that up, trying to find out if it's actually true or completely false. But unfortunately, the Aramaic translator Victor N. Alexander hasn't completed that ancient Old Testament, those books, right, into English. So we have to look elsewhere. So we'd have to look at the modern Americanized Bible versions and their translation of it, their interpretation of it, and also today's Hebrew, which is modern Hebrew, possibly Israeli Hebrew, not the very old ancient Tav Ivri, as many have claimed. If it was, it would be the same as when translated, or very, very close, akin to this translation of the original ancient, very old Aramaic manuscripts or scriptures. Okay, so we are going to look at 2 Kings 11. No, we're going to go back actually, because here we're going to recap about Enoch. Irad had a son. This is Genesis 5:19 from the Brita, or Genesis in English. And Irad's line lived after Enoch was born to him 800 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. And Irad's entire line was 962 years, and then it ended. It's talking about his lineage. It's not saying that he lived 962 years. And Enoch, who was born to him, lived 65 years, and to him was born Methuselah. There's a footnote indication below. 521, literal Aramaic name, Methuselah. And Enoch glorified, who praised and worshipped God, and who was righteous, etc. And Enoch praised God for his duty, because it was his duty, that's what he had to do, for which God had put blessings upon him, consecrated him. And Methuselah, his son, lived 187 years, and to him was born Lamech. And Methuselah's line lived after the birth of Lamech 782 years, and he brought forth sons and daughters. And Methuselah's entire line was 969 years, and ended. And Lamech lived 100 years, 182 years, and then he had a son. So it's not saying that Irad lived for 180. What was it here? It's not saying that Irad lived to 962 years and then he died, or Methuselah lived to be so many years, or Lamech lived to be so many years, and then he died, right? It's talking about the lineage. Again, it's talking about the lineage, how long their line lasted, right? Where he had sons and daughters, because he had Enoch, right? Erod had Enoch, so then he had more sons and daughters, but this Enoch was the heir, or had the rightful birthright to be the leader of all that group, and then Methuselah dies, right, etc., etc. Okay, yeah, so it's not saying that they lived like 950 years or anything like that. In your Americanized Bible versions or English versions, it's incorrect. So we're going to have a look at 2 Kings in the Americanized Bible version, NIV, and then compare it with the Hebrew. 2 Kings 2:11-12, New International Version. As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elisha saw this and cried out, my father, the chariots and horsemen of Israel. And Elisha saw him no more. Then he took hold of his garment and tore it in two. And that's one interpretation of it. Probably some more. Check out New King James. Probably pretty similar. In English, it's a new revised version, because nobody could really understand the 1611 if it was thee, thou, do, thou, die. Yeah, Shakespeare speak, Romeo and Juliet speak. So here's this verse here, the New King James Version. Then it happened, as they continued on and talked, that suddenly a chariot of fire appeared with horses of fire and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha, must be the son, saw it, and he cried out, my father, the chariot of Israel and the horsemen. So he saw him no more, and took hold of his own clothes and tore them into pieces. We can also go and see if we can find the King James Version for the King James onlyists. See if we can find that. Plenty of versions there, don't seem to see it here. King James. Nothing there. Further back up. Here we go. Authorised King James Version. Is it King James Version? Let's have a look at that one. Okay, the other one's authorised. It's the one that they say is the only one to be read in churches. It's declared by King James when he actually was talking about the Church of England, which is in England, right? All those churches, yeah, because they're keeping out the Catholic and the Catholic Apocrypha. But unbeknown to many, they had the Apocrypha in that 1611 King James and took it out in about 1800s. It was regarded as not really meant to be in there. Okay, so that verse, 2 Kings 2:11, according to the King James Version, for all you King James onlyists. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them asunder, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and he took hold of his own clothes and rent them in two pieces. Because somewhere online it says, it speaks about Enoch being taken up this way. But as you see, this particular verse is saying, it's talking about Elijah going up in the same way, right? Whereas we compare it with the original Aramaic, right? It speaks of Enoch. There's no mention of him being taken up by a chariot. He just got taken away. He got passed on, possibly, went into another land or something, and therefore died. And eventually died. So he wasn't part of this worldwide evil which brought on the flood, right? When all men turned their backs on God and did whatever they pleased, you know, for so many ages, eras, eons, until God decided, regret making them or wipe them out, etc., etc., according to the scriptures. Okay, so that's versions in your English Bible versions. This one here should be like the Hebrew, probably modern Hebrew. Here's the Hebrew here. See how it's got these dots and stuff? Apparently that's make it easier for people to learn and read, something like that. Okay, but apparently the original Hebrew was the sister language of the original ancient Aramaic, the Kitab Asheri. So this Kitab Ivri was the sister language. And they used to interchange all the time. 1 minute they'd use Hebrew, then they'd use Aramaic, then they'd use Aramaic. Like they'd say, can I use the Hebrew inside of temples? Holy talk and all that sort of stuff, but use the Aramaic outside for your political stuff, etc., etc., right? And that interchange all the time is stated. So they reckon they had the same words with the same meanings, the Kitab Asheri and the Kitab Ivri, or ancient Aramaic and the ancient or very old Hebrew, until a point where it was modified, right? Because it had no vowels. Then it had consonants. In the Aramaic, apparently the A was considered a consonant, etc., etc. So they should have had the same words in the same meanings. Like Yom and Yuma should have been the same. Or Elohim and Elohim. To show you the difference, it's probably actually pronounced as Elohim. But there's a difference. Elohim, Elohim, versus Elohim, Elohim. Elohim means over the flames in the ancient Aramaic, whereas Elohim probably means something like one who is all. Okay, you can go do your own research on that. I'm just going off the top of my head what I found. It could mean something completely different. Yeah, but that's what I found. It means something like one who is all. Okay? Yeah, it could be another version. I'm not Hebrew, so I don't profess to know it, right? It's just what I read. Anyway, it says here, as they were crossing, Elijah said to Elisha, tell me, what can I do for you? Blah, blah, blah. Further down here. And they kept on walking and talking. A fiery chariot with fiery horses suddenly appeared and separated one from the other, father from son. And Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind. Elisha saw it and he cried out, "Oh, Father, Father, Israel's chariots and horsemen." When he could no longer see him, he grasped his garments and rent them in two. He picked up Elijah's mantle, which had dropped from him. Is that like a cloth or something? And he went back. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it's probably some sort of headdress or something like that. Not really sure. Covering, whatever. He picked up Elijah's mantle, which had dropped from him, and he went back and stood on the bank of the Jordan. Okay, so that's in the modern Hebrew there, or the Hebrew there. Okay. So we decided we'll go have a look at what is the chariot of fire. Because most conspiracy theorists and ufologists say, it's a spaceship and all this sort of stuff. But it's symbolic, okay? Because in that age, they had no idea, because they had no word for unidentified flying object or flying saucer, little green men, all that sort of stuff. So they got to compare it to whatever's around them. Similar items, right? That they use everyday items. So he looks, that thing's like, wow, it looks, okay, yeah, it's a transport. So what can we compare it to? Oh, okay, we were writing it. A chariot, okay, because it had wheels, fiery wheels, etc., etc. in the text, in the scripture, right, in that language. So they're comparing everything. Chariots naturally drawn by so many horses, right, and he's explaining what he saw in the best way that he can, like Jesus, like explaining the secrets of the kingdom of God or whatever to the common people. He's using everyday objects around him, like the grain, the stones, whatever like that. to get a point across. Right? So this is what he sees, something like this. Okay, this is an artist's impression. It may not be the real deal. This is supposed to be, see, that's Elijah being carried up. There's probably holy angels, etc. there, heavenly horses, right? And here's Elisha here, his son. So they got separated, right? And so something drops off his mantle, and he picks it up, and then goes off to the Jordan. So that's one artist's impression. So go have a look at another one. Okay, there he is up in the clouds, waving goodbye to his son on a fiery chariot, right? So these ufologists and conspiracy theorists, they say, well, if you really look at it, he's saying, saying that he went up on a UFO. Because in the book of Enoch, he went up on this, he was taken up by God up into the sky, right, on a chariot, all this sort of stuff. He never died, and he apparently went through outer space on this, what he seems to describe as a UFO, or a spaceship, goes to the seventh heavens and all this sort of stuff. Okay. So hopefully that explains it a bit more, and it doesn't actually say there that Enoch went up the same way. Only in the book of Enoch, which is supposed to be pseudepigrapha. Okay, go check out that word, get that word defined, which basically means it's considered non-canonical, a false book, or fake by some. Term pseudepigrapha because they can figure out near exact when it was actually written, but they can't figure out who the actual original author was. Yeah. So there's probably another verse like Hebrews or something like that where it goes on about Enoch. So we could cover Enoch and Elijah going up on fiery chariot stuff. So we could probably cover that as well. And there's probably another one which we could probably cover as well, another one like that. So yeah, if we need to, we'll keep doing that, right, to bring you the real truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth about those scriptures and the claims. So you're not fooled by all this fanciful stuff like the stone, the Dome of the Rock is where the Prophet Muhammad actually flew up in the sky. It's like a commemorative thing. It's these Muslims say what his name says, and all this sort of stuff. Maybe hopped on the back of a phoenix or whatever and flew off to the highest heaven and stuff. All that sort of fanciful stuff. Well, they don't want to believe that. They believe that, but that's up to them, right? They've got no real proof that he actually did that. It's just suggested. One of those mythical, legendary things that people get heaped onto them, like Bruce Lee could kill 10 men with bad breath or something, that sort of stuff, or he could run through 10 FBI agents, 10 FBI agents, guns blazing, and kick the matchstick out of one of their mouths, right, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, legends always heap fantastical stories on them, right, that he could beat up 100 men, one punch, all that sort of stuff, one kick, and then Bruce Lee would laugh at it. But yes, along those terms. So hopefully that helps you. Exposes the truth to you. You realise, oh come on, man, I've been duped. We've been duped. Our pastors, our reverends, or whatever, have been duping us. Pulling the wool over our eyes. If these are the original manuscripts in the original sacred scribe or old tongue, right, translated in English by a native-born Aramaic speaker. Jumping back and forwards. Okay, the devil's playing around with my computer. I've lost my train of thought. So, they've suckered you, whatever, if they have, telling you all these fanciful stories, to keep you dumb and numbed or whatever, to keep you under control. They've got some hidden motive or agenda or whatever, right? They're resorting to trickery, deceit. Hopefully you'll come to realise that fact and aware of it. So that's what we're all about. the ministry of the real truth, to waking you up to what the scriptures actually say from the original scriptures, hidden and preserved, or hidden and preserved and compiled from the sacred scribal tongue, old tongue, the Shana Atika Saprea, of the old original language used, written, recorded by the Old Testament prophets, the scribes and monks, around 800 BC in Ur-Hai, Edessa, and the Galilean Aramaic, hidden and preserved manuscripts, translated into English, hidden and preserved by the original Church of the East that Thomas, the disciple, the original disciple, found when the Church of Jerusalem was destroyed and he ran across China or whatever, went to India apparently and set up about 7 to 9 churches before his martyrdom. So yeah, it's all like a help, re-education, awakening you to that real truth without resorting to trickery or deceit or pulling the wool over your eyes. So if you enjoyed that, then please subscribe to our channel, add your comments below, give us a like, don't forget to check that notification bell, see if it's set correctly so you don't miss out on any more of this vital information that you need to know, so you won't be duped, suckered, deceived anymore. So when you go preach and teach and preach to others out there, you'll be confident in knowing that, hey man, I'm telling these guys the truth, I'm not lying. You might come across a highly qualified top theologian quite by chance, and you say this, say that, you say, oh, come on man, you don't even speak the language, you don't know the language, you don't know the idioms, etc, etc. Slam goes the door, go away, liar. You understand? Okay. Yes, it's for you, right? Yeah, we're doing it for you. We're not money mongers or anything like that. And no, we're not affiliated with, we're not a denomination. We're separated from that. We're not a cult, we're not a movement. Okay? All that sort of stuff. We're the real deal. We're the only ones online telling you the real truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, without the fluff, the hype, and all that other willy-nilly nonsense.